Well, welcome to a new Harry's Garage video, and this is a different format video because it's all about how we're going to replace our family Range Rover P400e plug-in hybrid Range Rover we've had for just over 2 years, done just over 32,000 miles in it, and I'm considering, do I get another PHEV vehicle or do I go all electric this time? Now, we have tried as a family all electric prior to this PHEV arriving, and that was in 2019. We ran a Jaguar I-Pace, and at that point the infrastructure wasn't really there, and that's why we went to a plug-in hybrid and didn't go back into another electric car. And there's been a few surprises, and I wanted in this video to expand on why I'm now debating which way to go, how PHEV has worked out in the real world over the mileage we've done in this car, what new PHEV offers. So I've got this BMW X5 50e. I've had it for just over a month. I think we've done nearly 1,000 miles in it. And the Taycan has been around for a month as well. We've done 500-600 miles in that as well. So we've had a sort of quite an experience of seeing what the new generation cars are like compared to this Range Rover, which is 2021. Now let's go into a bit more detail. I find every time I see this Range Rover, I have to remind myself that it actually came out in 2012. This is a 10-year-old car, and yeah, I think the design looks very fresh. It's sort of kept up to date. It still looks classy to my eyes. If you look at the X5, that's always been a struggle, I think, with BMW design, how that looks. Taycan, that's in the Cross Turismo form there. I quite like the Cross Turismo, and I quite like the design, and it looks very modern. And in my head, I thought, oh, I might have a look at that because I like the idea of a 911 Dakar. And then, is that a Taycan Dakar possible candidate? Could I do something with it? But returning to the Range Rover, it's one of those cars, once you've had one, I've had a series of Range Rovers, they're very capable vehicles, and they're hard to not consider just getting another one. This one I also quite like. It was plug-in at the front there, so you drive, how we got the charger, you just sort of drive up to it and you plug it in. I find that very convenient. And the big surprise over the 2 years and the bit we've run this car is, even though it has a smallest battery of the lot, it's 13.1 kilowatts usable size, we have managed to do 75% of our motoring on pure electric. I am staggered at that number. Now, everybody's situation is different, and what we've learnt to do is to graze electric, if you like. You're constantly, at the end of the journey, just plug it in. It comes second nature. And our use is, I work from home, so I'm not doing a commute and it's not staying away somewhere. I think the reason why we've done so many miles on electric is the number of short runs we actually do. Everything's sort of 10 miles or 12 miles away. My son does the regular school run in the morning, might go to the gym, it does shopping, local shopping, or we go out of an evening. They're all 20-mile runs, and this on electric does about 25 miles on pure electric. And then you do the longer runs, and you have the convenience, well, it's just an engine, and it will have a 350, 400 mile petrol range as well. So yeah, you come second nature that you use it for everything without any thought that, oh, range anxiety or whatever. So it's just like your regular petrol car. And also, we've come to like just the pure electric. There's something about that silence and that ease of moving at slow speed. There's a lot of slow speed motoring today in town, etc., and you get very used to that silence. So we like that, and I thought, oh, we'll just buy the new plug-in Range Rover. But if you watch a regular Harry's Garage video, you'll notice I did a test on that, and I didn't think it was the right direction. It wasn't as efficient, shall we say. It did many more miles on electric, but that was because it had a dramatically bigger battery. I think the one I tested, the new Range Rover, has a gross capacity of 38.2 kilowatt hours, 31.8 usable. Now, another thing I've learnt since on this journey, when I grumbled about that PHEV Range Rover, I had a Land Rover engineer sort of Zoom call to discuss my findings. And one of the things I never knew is if you charge your electric vehicle at home on an AC current, as you have home electric, there is an inefficiency there, and you don't actually supply the car with the size of the battery number of units, if you like. There is wastage in heat in the inverter going through the charged battery, and it's about 10%. I had no knowledge of this. If you use an outside charger direct current, there's much less losses. But if you charge, for ease of mass, 100 kilowatt hour battery usable, you will probably use 110 units of your home electricity to put 100 units in your battery. So there's sort of spillage. So that's something to consider if you are charging at home. I found out 13.1 usable kilowatt hours in this car. When I charge it at home, 14.3 kilowatts I put in it to get the 13 kilowatts back. And I mean, electric cars, we're all learning all the time, but that was a new one on me. I'm sticking with electric. I did consider diesel is still very attractive, I think, for these bigger vehicles. The new D300 in this new Range Rover, 37, 40 mpg, but we have solar down at the house now, and I want to maximise our use of that solar electricity we're producing. I put a 12 kilowatt solar array in, and we're about 10 months in of having that solar, and it looks like it's going to produce around 12,000 units of electricity for the year, which gives us 33 kilowatts hours a day, which at 2 miles per kilowatt hour is 66 miles of free electric motoring, if you like. So I'm sticking with something electric, and that's why the X5 and the Taycan are here. Now, having driven that new Range Rover, that really confused me, because I thought, I'm not sure if I want to go to that space. I also weighed it, and I was shocked it was over 3 tons. It was 3,080 kilos with me in it, so let's call it 3 tons. And then I went and weighed this one, and it was 2.8 tons. It wasn't that much lighter, even though the new Range Rover has a considerably bigger battery than this. They say it has a 60, 70 mile range. Well, in my experience, I was only getting 50, 55 miles at most. And that means both the Range Rovers were doing about 1.6 miles per kilowatt hour of battery capacity. And your average electric car does, well, nearer to 3. Tesla Model 3 is probably doing nearer to 4 miles. So although they're electric, they don't actually make great use of that electric, because it's having to power a big car, 4-wheel drive, through a 8-speed ZF gearbox. Was there a better way? So that's why these two cars arrived in the garage, and I've been trying the X5. Now, I've tried lived with a X5 45e just 2 years ago, and I was very impressed with it. It was very easy to live with, but it wasn't really a farm car, and I thought I needed a farm car at the point. I'd tried it around the farm, and it didn't really work for that. But the family really quite liked it. But I stuck with Range Rover, and yeah, we've got on okay. But now, looking to replace, I can see I might well move away from Land Rover brand, and this is sort of top of the list, and that's why I got this one in. And there's quite a difference in the drive experience from 45e to 50e, this new model. It has a similar size battery. I think the usable capacity of the X5 is 25.7 kilowatt hours, so almost twice as big as the Range Rover, but its range is more than twice the capacity. It's about 64 miles on electric, this does. So it does more miles per kilowatt hour of battery capacity than the Range Rover. I can see about 2.2, 2.4 miles per kilowatt hour from the BMW. And when you drive it, what you notice, it has dramatically more regen. It's a much more powerful motor. It's 200 horsepower electric motor in this, and I think the Range Rover is about 120 horsepower. They've actually upgraded in the new Range Rover. It's just got an upgrade electric motor, much bigger, and matches the X5. And I wonder if that's why it's so much better on regen. But it seems to eke out more miles by just clever engineering. When you drive it, the software is extraordinary. It recognises you're approaching a 30 limit, or you've got a roundabout approach, and it will start the braking. And you can see incredible miles from the battery capacity because of regen. We did one journey on a 222 mile trip, so the battery, there's no way it's going to do the whole distance, but it did 89.7 miles on electric. That's 3.49 miles per kilowatt hour. So that's double what the Range Rover does on the same amount of electricity, in effect. So, and I quite like the car. I wish it has a prettier face. You know, compared to the Range Rover, it just doesn't have that class, but it's the same size, same capacity, and it actually rides better. This, I also weighed this, and it's 2,500 kilos, so half a ton lighter than the new Range Rover. Rides better, it's very comfortable, and the integration of the electrics and the interface is very clever, all works superbly. So that is easily a better PHEV, a new generation of PHEV, and it's getting a lot of, within the family, that's the one we seem to be aiming for. Or should we go all electric? And that's why I got the Taycan in to try living with this. What I like about this, it just is a modern design, and from behind the wheel there is a Porsche feel. It just, the steering is better, and the way it goes through the curves, it just feels more dynamic. But there are some negatives towards it. The brakes, how they've integrated the regen of the brakes, or there's a pause of the brakes that doesn't match the rest of the car's dynamics, and it bugs me really. The other thing is, it's a huge car. All these three cars are within about 5 mil of each other, but you'd never guess it once you're inside it. And it's all quite tight inside. And it's one of those things, how do they make this enormous car so small on the inside? If you put a child seat in the back, you have to put the seat right the way forward. And at the back, when you open the boot, I think because of the sculpture here, it's quite a tight boot area for a 5 metre long car. Yes, you've got the boot up the front, but it's not quite as accommodating as I hoped for the size of car. I also weighed this car 2,380 kilos, so it is lighter than the other two, but not by much. It's still quite a chunky car. And this has an 85 kilowatt hour battery. Now, again, I used my charge meter and I could actually record how many units it took from zero. I actually ran it out, and it was quite nerve-wracking getting it to when you get no miles displayed on the range. Got home, put the charger on it, and it took, let's have a look, 92.3 kilowatt units for home electricity to recharge the battery. That is a usable battery size of 83.7. So basically 10 kilowatt hours of home electricity are filtered away in heat or something to charge the battery on it. Tis something to consider. You put more electric in than your range indicator or the capacity of the battery displayed on the dash. It's like, you imagine with a petrol can, you're sort of spilling a bit of petrol and not all of it's going in the tank. Well, it's the same electricity, and you're losing it in heat. It's something I didn't realise happened with electric cars. And the other thing I have to discuss is price. This car, with all the options, was £110,000. The range starts at £88,000 today. And there was a flurry of Taycans going out the showrooms in the beginning because of the tax advantages. You obviously get, if you're a company buyer, you can write the whole thing 100% against tax, and that's very attractive. It saves you, well, at least £20,000. So, but the depreciation has been pretty harsh on this, and this is a £75,000 for a 21 model, similar mileage to this, sort of 15,000 mile, while the X5 50E is, I think it's 79,000 new, and the new Range Rover, well, 125,000 plus for a PHEV. So quite a bit more. The good thing about the Porsche is it's much more efficient on electric, and I went down to the Hampton Court Concord yesterday, so that's a run of about 160, 170 miles from here, and it does 3 miles per kilowatt hour or something like that. And it has superb radar cruise on it. It's very easy to keep the distance. So there are some positives with it, but what I like about these two, having lived with them, is there is no thought of range or how you use them. I went off to collect that Emira in our Range Rover. Don't think about it. And because it's actually, the P400e only has a 2-litre engine in it, a petrol engine backup, but it will still get close to 30 mpg when you're all out of electric. The X5 is actually even better. Even though it's more powerful, it's 490 horsepower combined, you can get about 31, 32 mpg out of it when there's no electric, but it's always harvesting electric, and therefore you get, you know, that enhanced electric range because it generates more on the regen, if you get what I mean. So that is a very efficient car. Now, we have only done, as I say, just on 1,000 miles on it, and annoyingly, we've done 69% of our mileage on electric, but because its range is that much greater, I think if we ran that on our normal routine, we would be 85, 90% on pure electric, our motoring, and that would come from the solar. I'm just thinking, at the moment, it's more efficient for us to use that car than to go pure electric and then have the issues on longer journeys as we do. I find you will, all the electric evangelists will say, you can just charge up any problem. It's amazing, the network's getting better and better. Where I find the electric car breaks down in my experience is if you go, what do we do our journeys for? You know, we go to a cottage, we take an Airbnb in Cornwall or something. Airbnb doesn't have any plug-in there, or you're visiting friends, you're overnighting with friends, well, and they don't have a charger. When you arrive there with low battery capacity, and then you have the inconvenience of leaving there and then thinking, oh, we've got to find a charger before we can start our journey home. And it's the etiquette. If I rock up to friends in this and I've got 10% battery, do I say, oh, excuse me, can I plug my car in at your house while we have dinner? It's just odd, isn't it? We're at the beginning of this journey. But that's what I find with the electric cars. It's fine if you're traveling to somewhere and you can charge overnight. The thing about the electric car is it's incredibly convenient being able to step out your house in the morning and have a fully charged car if you are able to charge from home. Once you've experienced it, it's so convenient, it's wonderful, and it's silent, and it's dead easy. The flip side of electric car, it becomes very inconvenient when you're low on range and your destination doesn't have a charger, and then it just becomes a worry that you don't really need. And that's why at the moment I can see I'm going to stick with PHEV for a little bit longer. And the other reason I am is that green Mille I did with the Mercedes team, knowing that the actual tech is improving very quickly. You know, if you look at Tesla 3 now, they've just announced a new one, much even lower drag, the shape of the car, and they can eke out 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour. So they're getting towards 400-mile range from a Tesla 3, and they'll sell you it for £45,000. Do I actually want to spend £110,000 on a Porsche with a 240-mile range? Don't think I do. And even at 75,000, I think, oh, I'll just buy that and just not worry about it. So I think we're going to see a real revolution in the electric tech. It's moving very fast. BMW announced this weekend they've got this new class, as they term it, and I was looking at what they were saying about their new electric vehicle: 30% more range, 30% faster charging, 25% increase in efficiency, 1,000-kilometre range, and 20% more energy dense batteries. That's coming by 2025. So this area is moving very fast. But I'm almost with Mr. Toyota that PHEV, smaller battery, and you will be amazed at how much your mileage you'll do on electric with one of these vehicles. And while the infrastructure continues to develop and electric cars develop, I think they're the best choice for the family car, and I can see my next car is going to be a PHEV. So there you go, a bit of a deep dive into the advantages and disadvantages of electric and PHEV as the family car. If you are, I have to say, this is our circumstances, and it's absolutely key at the moment that you can charge at home. If you can do that, then definitely consider electric, because it is so convenient. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, well, keep watching, keep subscribing, more videos coming on very soon.